It says ah.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. So you have the microphone?
Yeah.
Give it to him. Do we have the microphone?
Yes, we're gonna get it.
So did anyone do the homework for yesterday?
I kind of tried.
Okay, well it's better than no.
This is not my paper.
Go ahead.
Hari Ram, Hari Ram.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hari Ram.
Okay, stop that. Bring the microphone and give it to her.
So, Shri Krishna Kirtane Jadi Manasato Ha.
Yes.
I forgot.
Well, you can look at it. Look at it and sing.
Okay.
Shri Krishna Kirtane.
No, I got the first line. I just need the second line. What's the second word? Jatane. Okay. Parama jatane tahi labo adhikar. Okay, that's all I tried. The second verse, I couldn't fully get it.
Okay. Well, read the English translation to the first verse.
If your mind is always absorbed in chanting the glories of Lord Krishna with great care, then by that process of Shri Krishna Kirtana, you will attain transcendental qualification.
So, in other words, all good qualities will develop if you sincerely chant Hare Krishna. And then the next verses describes all the good qualities that will develop if you chant Hare Krishna. Okay. So did you do? No. Okay. Did you do, Yaman?
I'll memorize it next week.
Okay. Can you sing it? Tina Dika Hina Dina. Okay, you'll do it for next week, right? So you have to practice this for next week. Okay, so the second part of the homework was to know this verse. Yam hina vyatyantyete purusham purusarasabha samadukusakam hiram so murtavaya kalpate. So how do you read the English translation again?
O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress, and is steady in both, is certainly eligible for liberation.
Now, if you look at the word for word, there is some interesting points. So it says, okay, so basically, when it says yam hina vyatanti ete, yam means one to whom he certainly, na never, vyatayanti, are distressed, and ete all these. So in the translation it says, O best among men, Arjuna. So they begin by translating the second line, Purusham Purusha Rishabha, O best among men. So it says, O best among men, referring to Arjuna. A person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress. So the first line in the Sanskrit says, basically, one who is not disturbed. And then the second line says, O best among men, Arjuna. Samaduka Sukam Dhiram. Dhiram means one is very sober or patient. So a person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and who waits patiently, or who is very patient. aso mritavaya kalpate, is eligible for liberation. And the word for liberation is amritavaya. Amritavaya. So amrit means eternal, nectar. So a person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress. So explain to me how someone could be disturbed by distress. Do you have any idea?
Yesterday we discussed the lottery sum, and when someone cheats you, if you gain that sum of money, then you can become distressed.
Well, no. How are you distressed by happiness? That's you gave the example of happiness and distress. So you gave the distress example. How do you get disturbed by happiness? And then how does it disturb you?
If you win the lottery, then people are after your money and cheat you.
That happens, and also you get distressed because now you have all this money, you're worried about losing it. Because people are trying to come and cheat you and offer you all kinds of business deals. And it also distresses you because before, when you didn't have money, so many people didn't pay attention to you. And now all kinds of people are trying to contact you basically to get your money. But they're saying, oh, you can make more money if you follow this investment plan or that investment plan. So now all of a sudden everyone's interested in you. And it's distressful because before you lived more incognito. Nobody cared about you because you didn't have any money. And now everyone seems to care about you, but all they're interested in is getting some of your money. So both things are distressful. Happiness and distress. Happiness and difficulties. Okay. So if the person is not disturbed by happiness or misery or distress, that makes them eligible for liberation. Liberation from what? Yes, sorry. Yeah, in material life, okay, write this down. Material life means the following. 1, material desires. 2, duality. You can't decide which desire is first, or which desire you want to satisfy, because you have so many desires, right? And you don't know if you're going to do the right thing or the wrong thing. So you'll have duality. Number 3, because of that, there's doubts. Number 4, if you don't achieve what you want, you get angry. So now there's anger. There's doubts, now there's anger. Number 5, the more you get angry, the more enemies you make. And because of reactions from the enemies, you get confused and stressed. Confused and stressed. Number 6, you become very frustrated. Number 7, you wish your life would end because of all the frustration. So you become free of all that. This is what it means. Liberation means you're free of all that. Liberation doesn't mean you sprout wings and you fly up into the heavens. Liberation means you're free of all that. So what's the number 1 thing that you get free of? Material desires. Okay, next question. How do you become free of material desires? What? Okay, yes, serving what? Serving yourself? Krishna. So you become free of material desires when you replace them with spiritual desires.
Or dovetailing.
Yeah, dovetailing things into Krishna consciousness. But the main thing is, you cannot get rid of desires. That's artificial. That's what the Mayavadis or impersonalists try to do. And it's artificial. It's natural that you desire things. But when you change the quality of your desires from desiring for sense gratification for yourself to desiring to please the senses of Krishna, at that point you become free of material desires. And it's an important point to remember, you can never give up all desires. It's just natural that we have desires. But now the question is, what kind of desires? If we purify our desires from selfish desires for ourselves to unselfish desires to please Krishna, then we're free of material desires. Now we have only spiritual desires. Okay, so because Krishna is in our heart as Paramatma, he can know if our desires are pure or impure. Just like Arjuna, when he gave reasons to Krishna why he should not fight in the battle of Kurukshetra, for an ordinary person, hearing Arjuna's reasons why he shouldn't fight, they would say, well, he's a good man. He doesn't want to kill so many people, and then he's thinking about their families, what's going to happen to the wife and the children if the husband is dead, and so forth. So he was, for an ordinary person, they would think, Arjuna's a good guy. So then why would Krishna say, not agree with Arjuna? Because the motive, M-O-T-I-V-E, what does that mean, motive? Yes. Tanvi, say in the microphone.
The reason behind why you do something.
Yes, the real reason.
Yeah.
It can be hidden. You know, I mean, this is what Arjuna, his real reason was, he was not thinking of pleasing Krishna, he was thinking of his own pleasure. Therefore, he was refusing the fight, because he did not see how he would be happy if he won or lost the battle of Kurukshetra. Right. So, this is a big subject. It's explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Let's take a look at it. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 30. Chapter 3, verse 30. So, who wants to read? Anybody?
Translation?
Yeah, just the English.
Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me, with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight.
What's lethargy mean? Laziness. Lethargy, why don't you write that word down? L-E-T-H-A-R-G-Y, lethargy. It means laziness. When a person is lazy, they become lethargic. Okay. Lethargic means they don't feel like doing anything. They're just sitting around listlessly. That's another word. Listless. L-I-S-T-L-E-S-S. Listless. Means they're just sitting around vegetating. What does that mean, vegetating?
Like you're a vegetable.
Like you're a vegetable, exactly. Or a couch potato. You know what a couch potato is? Someone who watches the Super Bowl laying down on the couch, for hours, and you only get up to maybe go get a beer from the refrigerator, and they have their baseball hat on backwards the whole time. That's a couch potato. They're listless. They don't have any real motivation to do anything, and they're lethargic, just hanging around doing nothing, wasting their time, as if they have no energy. Okay, so everything depends on the motive. What does that mean? You said it's, Tanvi said, the reason why you do something, right? So if Arjuna's motive was, he didn't see how he would be happy if he won or lost the battle. So therefore he decided not to fight. Is that a Krishna conscious decision? What's wrong with it? Hari, what's wrong with that decision? Hari, what's wrong with that decision? All right. But you were sitting right here. You were being listless. Yeah. Okay, so the question is, why did Arjuna refuse to fight?
Because he was thinking of his own motive, that he wanted to have his family safe and he wanted to hurt them.
Yeah, but he has family on both sides. So if he won, one side is dead. If he lost, the other side is dead. Yes?
Isn't it because his guru was on the other side? No? Oh, no, Bhishma Pitama.
No, they're also, Bhisma Pitama is related to him.
Yeah.
He's in the Kuru dynasty, and then Dronacharya was his guru, so that's another relationship, right? Yes.
All the wives of the soldiers would fall into something. I remember reading that.
Well, they would all be without a husband, so they would be not protected. Yes.
Oh no.
Wait a minute. Yamuna, go ahead. You're next.
The reason his reasonings were wrong was because he didn't include Krishna in them. So
yeah, he wasn't thinking of Krishna at all.
No.
He's only thinking about himself. Okay, go ahead.
Wasn't it because
If he loses, then you said something yesterday.
One side of his family will be killed.
Yeah,
and if he wins, the other side of his family will be killed.
Yeah, and then he won't enjoy his life anyway.
He won't be able to show off the spoils of the victory. Spoils of the victory.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that.
Yes.
Because he lost.
Give him.
Basically, what me and Shivani said were more like normal.
What?
Basically, what me and Shivani said were like normal reasons, whereas what Yamuna said was like the true motive behind what Arjuna was saying.
Yes.
Like those are kind of like excuses, like not excuses, but like those are his like reasons that he could put in words.
It's like this. Let me give you an example. We say, who's coming out on Sankirtan? All of a sudden, we hear, oh, I have a DYS class. Oh, I have to do this. Oh, I have to do that. I mean, we go around the room. Everyone has a reason why they can't come, right? So, are they thinking of Krishna? Well, maybe they want to, but they're finding more importance for these other things. So what's the solution to the problem? It's readjusting their schedule. They can still do those other things that they want to do, but they readjust it so it's not at the same time as Harinam. And people can make that decision. They might not be able to do it today, but if they think about it, by next week or 2 weeks from now, they can readjust their schedule to do everything that they want to do and still come out on Sankirtan. Right? Okay, so now let's read this purport to 330, because this explains how to, the right motive. Krishna is giving Arjuna the hint here of the right motive for all future actions. So who wants to read first? Okay, Tanvi, go ahead. This verse.
This verse clearly indicates the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord instructs that one has to become fully Krishna conscious to discharge duties, as if in military discipline.
Okay, now, fully Krishna conscious to discharge duties in Krishna consciousness, as if in military discipline. What is military discipline? What does it mean by that?
Yeah, because military people like discipline you so hard.
If you say no to a commander, that's called insubordination. You can be put in jail, military jail, if you refuse to follow an order in the military. It's a very serious offense.
Yeah. You can't. They can't take no for an answer.
Yes.
Then why do they even ask the question?
They don't ask a question.
What question?
But no, they're like, oh wait, never mind.
No, they just like do this. They
Yeah,
don't say,
yeah.
you are to do this.
Yeah.
No, you have to follow orders in the military. That's what they teach you. Following orders from the superior. Sometimes the superior might not be such a good person, but you know, they can always lodge a complaint if they want to. But still, in general, you have to follow the order. And sometimes, like, Prabhupada would receive letters from devotees and they say, oh, the temple president is not a good guy. He told me to do this and he told me to do that. And Prabhupada's answer was, for the time being, just follow what he says, as long as he's not telling you to break any of the principles of Krishna consciousness. And I will adjust things. Just be patient. But for the time being, follow what he says. Now, what if someone says, jump off a bridge or light up a cigar? Do you have to follow those? No. Yes.
You gave us the 4 rules to do. So is this favorable to Krishna? Is this not favorable to Krishna?
Right.
Is this? I forgot, but you have to follow those 4 things, and then you can check yourself and see if
Okay,
that's the
so
right thing.
number 1.
Yeah, well, please Krishna.
Number 1. Anukulyena sankalpa pratikulyena varjanam. So, do everything favorable for Krishna, and don't do anything that's not favorable for Krishna. Do everything that's favorable to Krishna. It's like the 10th time we're going over this. Do everything favorable for Krishna, point 1. Number 2, don't do anything not favorable to Krishna.
What are these called?
There's 6 points of logic.
Oh yeah, the 6. I remember the 6.
Okay, next. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Only do those things that are pleasing for Krishna. Never forget Krishna. Right? Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Yamuna is going to help you.
Yeah.
And then only do those things that are pleasing to Krishna and never do anything that's not pleasing to Krishna. Next, whenever in doubt, ask a spiritual authority. The triangle of verification. Right? Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Yeah. The triangle of verification, right? Okay, so if you follow these principles of logic, then you'll never make a mistake. Now, what point did Arjuna violate? Even though he gave very good reasons why he should not fight. What point did he violate? Yes, Krishna. What?
Doing his dharma.
No. Yes, Tanvi?
Do everything favorable to Krishna.
Yeah, it wasn't pleasing. Well, more specific, it wasn't pleasing for Krishna. Krishna wanted him to fight, and he's refusing to fight. So, okay. Oh, by the way, Agastya, right? And you know how I remember your name now? I was always forgetting it. You know how I remember your name? Because it begins with Agastya. So you have to actually say Hare Krishna Agastya. So now I know your name. Agastya. Actually, it's Agastya, but we usually pronounce it Agastya. Okay, so now continue reading.
Such an injunction may make things a little difficult. Nevertheless, duties must be carried out with dependence on Krishna, because that is the constitutional position of the living entity.
Okay, now there's a lot of information in this sentence. Okay, Tanvi, see if you can analyze this sentence. First, by pointing out words that you may not understand. And then secondly, trying to understand clearly, point by point, made in this one sentence. You go point 1, point 2, point 3.
Wait, what does injunction mean?
Injunction means an order that you cannot refuse. It's different than an order. An injunction means that it's backed up by law or authority, so you cannot refuse it. If you say an order, well, an order, you know, sometimes you can refuse an order because it might be nonsense, right? But an injunction means it's backed up by official authority and law, right? So it's something you cannot refuse. Go ahead.
It's saying that even if, like, when we get orders, and even if they're, like, difficult, you have to do it because that's your duty, and because that's your constitutional position to, like, perform your duties. But you can only do it with depending on Krishna, because, like, independently you can't do much, but, like, when you depend on Krishna, he can, like, help you carry out the order.
Good. The main point here is that the constitutional position of living entity is to receive orders or injunctions from Krishna. Now, our constitutional position in material life is we're always following orders given by a superior. The beginning is your parents, then you go to school, it's your teacher, then you join the army, it's the commander, you work in a company, it's the CEO. You're always taking orders from people, right? You get married and it's your husband or your wife, you know, and later on it's your kids, they say, Daddy, I want to go to Disneyland. So, okay, we'll take you to Disneyland. So these are all orders, and it's our constitutional position to listen to authorities and follow them. It's just natural. All day long, that's what we're doing. Does anyone disagree with that? Yeah. Like, I met this one person once, and he said, I don't take orders from anybody, you know. I said, and he said, I don't follow any rules. So I said, where do you live? He said, I live in a trailer. I said, where is it? He said, why do you want to know? I said, well, you know where I live, so why can't I know where you live? So, okay, I live in this place. I said, okay, I'm coming there. Said, why are you coming? I said, I'm going to go and pee in your trailer. He said, you're not allowed to do that. I said, that's a rule. So he was telling me I don't follow any rules, right? But he just made a rule, you see. So it's complete nonsense, right? Everybody's following rules. Everybody is following some rule or other. If you say, I don't follow any rules, it's nonsense. And the person that doesn't follow rules, he's making a rule. You're not allowed to pee in my trailer, right? He just made a rule, you see. So everybody is following some rules, and it's usually dictation from an authority. It could be a parent, it could be a teacher, it could be a team leader, it can be whatever, the police, it can be the state, it can be the federal government. We're all following rules. But it's our constitutional position is to follow Krishna's rules and advice. That's our real constitutional position. Just like the United States has a constitution. So that constitution defines what rules the Congress of the United States must follow, what rules the president must follow, what rules the citizens must follow, and what rules are inviolable for the citizens. In other words, inviolable means you cannot contradict them. So the government of the United States cannot take away the right to free speech. They cannot take away the right to assembly. They cannot take away the right to follow the religion that you want. See, these are the amendments to the Constitution of the United States. So the Constitution are the rules the government has to follow, the rules the president has to follow, the rules that citizens have to follow. But then there are certain amendments that say the government is not allowed to stop freedom of speech, it's not allowed to stop freedom of religion, it's not allowed to stop freedom of assembly. Assembly means you invite people to a meeting, they can't stop certain things, right? So those are the amendments to the Constitution. So our constitutional position is defined not by the Constitution of the United States, it's defined by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharmam parityajya mamekam saranam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksisyami ma suchaha. You must surrender to me only, Krishna says. Then I free you from all your karma, and you will come back to me. So our constitutional position is to take instructions from Krishna. And those instructions come through the disciplic succession and the succession of gurus. And ultimately for us it's Srila Prabhupada. Go ahead, Tanvi, sorry.
The living entity cannot be happy independent of the cooperation of the Supreme Lord, because the eternal constitutional position of the living entity is to become subordinate to the desires of the Lord.
There you go. He just explained the eternal constitutional position of the living entity, of us, every one of us. It's to be subordinate to the desires of the Lord. Right? Right now we're subordinate to our own desires or the desires of nonsense people. Right? Not everybody's nonsense. I mean, your parents have desires and they're usually just for your welfare. But we're always subordinate. But ultimately we're all subordinate to the desires of the Lord. And that's the lesson of Bhagavad Gita. That Arjuna had his own desires and he tried to convince Krishna using Krishna consciousness philosophy to support his own desires. And Krishna rejected it. Because ultimately, our constitutional position is to be subordinate to Krishna, not to our own whimsical ideas and desires. Okay, Prabhu, you cannot leave the Bhagavad Gita on the ground. You have to always have it on your lap at least. Yeah. Go ahead.
Arjuna was therefore ordered by Sri Krishna to fight as if the Lord were his military commander. One has to sacrifice everything for the goodwill of the Supreme Lord, and at the same time discharge prescribed duties without claiming proprietorship.
So, if you discharge a prescribed duty, and you say, look, I went on Sankirtan, I sold 10 books, and I got $150. But the BBT only wants $100 for those 10 books, so therefore I should keep the $50. Is that a violation of our constitutional position? Or is that our constitutional position? Who knows? Krishna, you look like you're confused. Pranay, can you answer this question? Let's say you go on Sankirtan and you sell 10 books and you get $150. And when you come back to the temple, you say, look, the BBT only wants $100 for those 10 books, so I'll keep the $50. Is that following Krishna's order?
No.
Okay, what's being violated there? Look at this verse. Look at the verse. 3:30. 3:30. Someone read it to him. You see it?
Yeah.
Okay, what does the verse say? You can read it out loud.
It says, do I have to read in Sanskrit?
No.
Okay. Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me, with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight.
Lethargy. You know what that means, lethargy? It means laziness. So, what is being violated here? Yes, Sai. Give Sai the microphone. Hare Krishna. Agastya. Every time you say we'll say Hare Krishna Agastya. No, I'm just kidding. Don't say that.
Our constitutional position is to perform our duty, and you have to sacrifice your results to Krishna. So in this situation, you're not sacrificing your results. You're performing your prescribed duty, but you have to give up all the $150 and not only the...
Yeah, but see, now the devotee who says this is very clever. He says, the BBT only wants $100, so I'll keep the $50. See, I mean, that sounds like a... It sounds like a good argument, doesn't it? Yes, Yamuna.
Okay, so what Tanvi just read...
Okay, get the microphone.
Okay. So according to what Tanvi just read, Hare Krishna, one has to... Okay, the last sentence is discharge prescribed duties without claiming proprietorship. So...
And no desire... without desires for profit.
Yeah.
So the $50 in a sense is a profit, right?
Yeah. So
then the books only cost $100, but he got $150 donation. But he wants to keep the profit for himself. You see? Yes.
Doesn't this technically also break
Microphone.
Does that decision that
It's turning on.
Is the decision that devotee makes, doesn't that technically also break the six
points of logic?
Points of logic.
Well,
it breaks all six.
Yes, in a sense, you should only do things favorable for Krishna. So, is it see, let's say your father sends you to the store to buy something, and he gives you $10. But what you buy is only worth you only had to pay $7. So when you come back, you give him what he wanted, but you don't give the $3. And you think, well, that's $3. That's for my traveling to the place and coming back. So, what is the mistake there?
I didn't give the money that my dad gave to me back.
No, you didn't get permission to keep $3, right? Like, if your temple president says you can go out and distribute 10 books, and if you get, more than $100, I give you permission to keep the rest because you might have. So then you would have permission from an authority. But even with the permission, you should still turn in all the money that you got, the $150. You should turn it all in, and let the temple president give you back $50 that he gave you permission to keep. You shouldn't just keep it and not say anything. You see what I mean? This is called transparency. Write this word down. Transparency.
How do you spell?
T-R-A-N-S. A-N-S. Transparency. P-A-R-E-N-C-Y. I think it's E-N-C-Y. P-A-R-E-N-C-Y. You're doing things in a transparent way. That means you don't just come back and give $7 to your dad. You give him what you bought and the $3 extra, because it would only cost $7. And then your dad said, okay, well, you can keep the $3. What do you do when you open your mouth like that? We don't want to see your tonsils. Right? Okay. So this is an important word, transparency, or being transparent in your dealings. That means you're very careful and you're very honest. People who cheat are not transparent.
People who cheat
are not transparent. You cannot actually, they make it difficult for you to see what actually has transpired and what actually has taken place. So they come back and say, oh, I only got $100 today, here it is. But actually you got $150, but they're not telling you. So if the temple president doesn't see that this person cheated him out of $50, who sees?
Krishna.
Ah, so can you cheat anyone?
Nope.
No, yes, the answer is yes. You can only cheat yourself. You know how you cheat yourself? By lying, by not telling the truth, by hiding things. A devotee's life is completely public. What does that mean? A devotee's life is what?
You don't lie at all.
What?
You don't lie at all. You're transparent.
Yeah, public means, yeah, that means that you have nothing to hide. You're transparent in all your dealings.
Yeah.
You're public. Because you know there's always a witness to what you do. Let's say your mother and father don't see what you do, but Krishna is going to see what you do. The demigods see what you do. The ant that's in your bedroom sees what you do. There's always going to be a witness. There's no way you can escape having a witness.
So like,
I'll give you an example. One day I was watching this Discovery Channel. You know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay. And there was a program about a new casino that was opened up in Las Vegas called the Taj Mahal. So I wasn't really interested in it. I was going to close the television. And all of a sudden, they show a picture of a man who's gambling. I didn't think anything about it, but I looked at it a little more carefully. It was a devotee that I know.
Oh my God.
And the person was saying, you got to be an idiot to walk into the Taj Mahal casino, because it's the most expensive casino at that time that it was ever built. It cost $2 billion. And they said, it's just a gigantic machine for absorbing your money. I mean, how did they build a casino for $2 billion? That means a lot of people lost their money, and the casino made a profit. Now they invested in building a bigger casino that looks like the Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal is the most famous building in India, right? It looks like the Taj Mahal. But instead of finding a dead body inside, you find a casino, right? So, I thought I was hallucinating. So I took my glasses off and I walked very close to the screen and looked more carefully. It was actually him. It was actually a devotee that I know.
Did you once you saw him, did you expose him? Maybe like tell him, oh, I saw you in the casino.
Well, no, I didn't say. He doesn't live in Seattle. He only comes here once or twice a year. So about a year later, I saw him.
And did you tell him?
He's not going to say anything. He didn't know that he was filmed, right? So I said, how you doing, Prabhu? He said, oh, I'm doing all right. I said, how's Sankirtan? I said, oh, it's great. I said, do you ever do Sankirtan in Las Vegas? He said, yeah, I do. It's really good there. I said, have you ever done Sankirtan like outside the Taj Mahal casino? He said, yeah, how do you know? I said, no, I don't know, but I heard it's a new casino. He said, yeah, it's really good. I set up a table, and I have Prabhupada's books, and I have water bottles there, and I sell the water bottle, and if they buy the water bottle, I give them a book, a small book. I said, oh, that's great. Yeah, he said, it's really good preaching. I said, did you ever go inside the casino? He said, well, if I have to go to the bathroom, I go inside, And then I said, did you ever sit down at the...
So you did expose him?
No, I didn't expose him to other people. I'm not going to even expose him now and tell you what the name is. But I asked him, I said, did you ever sit down at, it's called the craps table, crap, C-R-A-P. It's the table where you throw the dice. And then, So I said, you ever sit at the craps table? He said, why are you asking me that? I said, I don't know, I just asking you. He said, no, why would I do that? It's gambling. I said, I was watching this Discovery Channel program about the opening of the Taj Mahal casino, and I saw you sitting at the crap table, and you were throwing the dice, and there was a woman standing next to you with her arm on your shoulder with a champagne glass. So he said, you know what he said? He said, oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you. Because I'm such a handsome guy, they came out and gave me $100 to sit there, and I wanted to use that $100 for Prabhupada, of course, so I agreed to sit there. He gave me a very clever answer, right? It was him. It was him, right? But he made this whole story about, because I'm a handsome guy, they asked me to sit. I said, well, who was that lady that had her hand on her? So I don't even know who she was. So, I mean, that's what you call a cockamamie story. It's a story that means nothing, right? There's nothing real about that story. Okay, so this is the thing about being transparent. Why are we transparent? Because we can't get away with anything. There's always going to be a witness. Even if we think there is no witness, there's still a witness. So why put ourselves in a situation like that? Better we understand the reality. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Tanvi.
Arjuna did not have to consider the order of the Lord. He had only to execute his order. The Supreme Lord is the soul of all souls. Therefore, one who depends solely and wholly on the Supreme Soul without personal consideration, or in other words, one who is fully Krishna conscious, is called Adhyatma Chetas.
That means Adhyatma Chetas means self-realized. They really understand who they are. Now, when it says Arjuna didn't have to consider the order of the Lord, that doesn't mean he should ignore the order of the Lord. It means he didn't have to think, is this order right or wrong? There's a famous British poet named Rudyard Kipling, and he wrote a poem, and in that poem he says, theirs was not to question why, theirs was but to do or die. So he was writing about the British Army during the British colonial period, and he was writing about the soldiers. And the position of the soldiers is not to question what the commander says. Their only issue is to follow the order of the commander, even if it means they're going to die. And there are situations like that when you're in the military. Like, for example, have you ever heard of D-Day? D-Day was the day that the Allies in World War II invaded France, invaded the Germans, the Nazis. D-Day. V-Day is Victory Day. So, whoever was in the front line, I mean, they had to cross over the English Channel in boats, and then they had to go onto the beach and fight the Germans. Now, the Germans had tremendous amount of defenses, all kinds of cannons and guns, and they were waiting. So whoever were the first soldiers to set foot on the beach, they were sure that they were going to die. Sure thing. And very few of them, in one day, 12,000 American soldiers were killed in that invasion. 12,000 in one day, right? And most of them were the first ones that went on the beach. And they knew that was going to happen. But theirs is not to question why. Theirs is but to do or die. So that is military discipline. Now, Krishna is ordering Arjuna to fight, and that's why Prabhupada says here, he says, Arjuna did not have to consider the order of the Lord. That means, it doesn't mean he did not have to take it seriously. It means that he didn't have to try and figure out, is this something I should do or not do? There was no question. He had to do it. It's like military discipline, right? So, therefore, he had only to execute the Lord's order. The Supreme Lord is the soul of all souls. Therefore, one who depends solely and wholly on the Supreme Soul without personal consideration, or in other words, one who is fully Krishna conscious, is called Adhyatma Chetas. What does Adhyatma Chetas mean? Yes. So, this phrase, Adhyatma Chetas, is in the verse. In the second line, it says, Sanyasya Adhyatma Chetasa. And let's look at the word for word. What does it mean? With full knowledge of the self by consciousness. One becomes conscious of the presence of Krishna in his heart, and that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he understands, I cannot argue with the Lord. I have to follow his order. That means he's self-realized. He understands his constitutional position as subordinate to the Lord. And his duty is to follow the instructions of the Lord. Okay, go ahead, Tanvi.
Nirashi means that one has to act on the order of the master, but should not expect fruitive results.
Nirashir.
Nirashir.
Yeah.
The cashier may count millions of dollars for his employer, but he does not claim a cent.
I'm sorry, Nirashi. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But he does not claim a cent for himself. Similarly, one has to realize that nothing in the world belongs to any individual person, but that everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. That is the real purport of Mai, or unto me.
Now I'm going to give you an example. Let's say a young child that's like, say, 3 or 4 or 5 gets a present on Christmas Day. And it's a remote control car. And this 5-year-old has a brother who's 8. And right after he gets the present, his brother takes the remote control away from him and starts playing with it because he's bigger. What does the little brother do? Why is he crying? No, he'll say, it's mine. Give me back my toy. It's not yours. Right? So, what does it say here? Nirashi means that one has to act on the order of the master, but should not expect fruitive results. The cashier may count millions of dollars for his employer, the bank, but he does not claim ascent for himself. Similarly, one has to realize that nothing in the world belongs to any individual person, but that everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. So, if we understand everything belongs to Krishna, then we never really say, it's mine. What do we say? Right. If you say it's nobody's, that's not true. Because here it says that one has to realize that nothing in the world belongs to any individual person. So, does that mean nobody owns it? What is the real understanding? Krishna owns it. It's not that nobody owns it. Mayavadis will say nobody owns. The communists say nobody owns. Only the socialists say the state owns. The communists will say all the people own. But all the people own means nobody owns. But that's not being said here. Here it's being said that Krishna owns, but nobody should claim ownership personally. So if you have a house, you own a house. If you use it in Krishna's service, that's the proof that Krishna owns your house. But you say, oh, Krishna owns my house, but you use it selfishly, that statement is nonsense. Do you understand what I mean? You have to actually prove, yes, Krishna.
I don't really understand. So you say that, oh, Krishna owns my house, but you use it for yourself, so he doesn't own your house?
Yeah.
If you use it for yourself,
then he doesn't own it.
Like, for example, is this temple being used for somebody's personal interest?
Krishna's.
Yes. But could I say, oh, this temple belongs to me? No. And because of that, anybody can enter the temple. Can anybody enter your house, Krishna?
No.
Okay. So now you see the difference. Would you agree that anybody can enter the temple?
Yeah.
But why? Because it's Krishna's house. The temple is Krishna's house. Okay. So, you can invite anyone into your house, but not to play video games, to see Damodarastakam, to have Prasadam, to have, a Discover Yourself course or Bhagavad Gita lecture. That means that you recognize that your house belongs to Krishna. But if you invite someone to play video games with you, what is the name of that thing? Fortnite. Then you're making a statement. This house belongs to me. It doesn't belong to Krishna. That's the statement you're making. Huh? Yes.
With that statement, like let's say I allow someone to come to my house and play a video game or do something that's not a Krishna conscious activity, would that activity count as a sin on my part? If someone comes to my house and does it?
Well, it depends what's in the video game. If it's something sinful, yes. Like killing. You see my point? Because what is the video game doing? It's taking your mind away from Krishna. Is that Krishna conscious or not Krishna conscious? So therefore it is sinful.
Someone else does it at your house, but you don't do it yourself.
Well, you're not doing it. You're making a decision not to do it. So you're acting righteously, and the other person is acting in nonsense.
But our house, that's Krishna's house, we're not using it in service, right? How do you use the house as a whole, like other than doing the regular?
You use every room in the house and all the facilities in the house to please Krishna, right? You can say, just like one time there was a man who was very clever. He was selling his house for $1, even though it was worth $1 million. But he had a caveat. You know what a caveat is? It's like an order that goes along with the sale, and that is that he had to remain the owner of one room in the house.
Oh, I know the story. Yeah, you told the devil was in the fine print or something.
No, listen. I've told this before, yes. So, people were saying, it's only $1, it's worth $1 million, and he just wants to keep one room. I'll take it. It's a deal.
I remember the story.
Wait. What?
Okay, and
Now, Mayapur, when you're in the back, you don't say, I know the story. You just say, Krishna Prema! Okay, go ahead.
Wait.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Agastya. Right, okay.
So, instead of playing Fortnite, can't you play Krishna Go? Where like that Krishna Run game where like Krishna runs and then like you make Krishna jump and then Krishna kills Putana and then Krishna runs again and then Krishna runs. Like, that's a Krishna conscious game.
Yeah, but are you remembering Krishna?
Yeah.
Well, are you saying the name of Krishna during the game?
Yeah, it's like go.
Then
Krishna,
it's okay.
Go.
Then it's okay.
No, you don't do that. You're making.
Yeah, you're like Krishna, jump over Putana.
Also, fight.
Yes.
Also, I think it was Sudhakar Prabhu's house when Vasukosh Prabhu was here. He was giving a class there. And all the little kids were sitting in a room and they were watching this Krishna movie and the story was completely wrong.
Oh yeah.
It was not a bona fide
not bona fide at all. Like they said Agasra was like flying in the air and like Bhagavatham was completely, the story was completely wrong. So in that situation, would the kids like, what are they like, committing an offense?
Now look, the kids didn't buy it. Their parents bought it, or somebody gave it to them, like an uncle or an auntie, right? So it's that person's fault. In other words, that person gets a lot of karma because he's doing something, or he or she is doing something to mislead the children, right? So it's the fault of the person who purchased that thing. Just like, for example, you buy ice cream, but instead of buying Breyer's ice cream, you buy Dreyer's ice cream. Yeah, Dreyers. There's a trademark. There's a type of ice cream, and it's just as popular as Breyer's. It's in the same. It's like sometimes it's right next to Breyer's, right? And you think, well, Dreyer's, Breyer's, the same thing, right? Just one letter difference. So you come home with Dreyer's ice cream and you serve it to your friends and your kids and your birthday party. But Dreyer's ice cream has meat derivative products in it, whereas most of Breyer's don't. Some of Breyer's ice cream has meat derivative products in it.
Meat ice cream.
Yeah. Even a meat derivative, not meat, but meat derivative. Yes.
So, Broji, at that rate, how are we not able to prove that people that eat like these kind of meat-derived products or like straight up just meat as a whole, how are we not able to prove to others that they're getting karma or not?
Okay, look.
Like outsiders,
No,
right? Who are not
you refer to authority. The authority is Bhagavad Gita, right? So Krishna will not accept, obviously doesn't accept meat, fish or eggs, right? Or chicken or whatever. However, there are products that are derived from that, from meat, fish, eggs, or chicken, that are used in the manufacture of products in the United States. Many products, yogurt, ice cream, all kinds of things, cake mixes and so forth. Is that right, Prabhu? You work for the health department? Do you have an example of it? What? Yes, mono and diglycerides.
And this I didn't learn from the job. I learned from the other vaccine booklet you
Yeah. Yeah. So these meat or animal-derived products are ingredients in many products in the United States, including yogurt. Can you imagine that? Including certain types of yogurt. Nowadays they're starting to clean it up because people are complaining about it. especially the vegetarians. But, I mean, Dannon yogurt, for years, they had gelatin in it. For years. I don't know if they still do. And no one said anything. Now there's more increased awareness of the ingredients, and vegetarians, object to it because they said, you're making me, you're feeding me products that I'm normally should not eat. Right? Yes, Krishna.
So this is kind of off topic, but
Microphone.
I'm still flabbergasted for this, but
Whatever you say. Playing video games is a sin.
It depends what the game is.
Like shooter games is a sin.
So let me ask you a question. Is killing someone a sin?
Yeah.
So if you have to kill someone in a video game, is it a sin or not a sin?
Because you're simulating it.
A sin.
Simulating. Simulating means it may not be a real person. It's a virtual person. But you are actually killing.
What if you're camping?
What if you're what?
Oh my God, funny.
Camping. What does that mean?
In the terms that they use in the video game.
He's speaking a foreign language. So, I mean, the question is, look, if I gave you a gun, would you go and kill someone?
No.
If I give you a video game where you can kill, will you go and kill? In the
Not
video
in real
game?
life.
What?
Not in real life.
Well, no. See, what happens is you become desensitized. You're sensitive to getting a real gun and going and killing someone. But if you regularly are killing in a virtual reality situation, you become desensitized.
What's the meaning?
Okay, wait a minute. Microphone, please. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
When I first watched like someone shooting a gun, like shooting someone, I was like, oh God, and it kind of like scarred my life. And I got
scarred your life.
No,
it scarred your life.
No. I got nightmares for a week or so, and then I got used to it. Like these days, like every movie has some sort of violence.
Gun violence.
In it. Yeah. So and now like it doesn't seem so bad. Like I don't feel the same. Yeah, I got desensitized. Like I don't feel like, oh God, that guy died. I was just like, oh no, it's just a normal thing. People are just shooting each other. Like so it's actually true.
Yes.
Nowadays, like on the news, if you hear someone died, like, oh, this person got murdered, or this police shot this person, you're just like, oh wow, the usual. Yeah. You're not like,
I'm getting nightmares.
Well, yeah. You're desensitized. Actually, if you hear someone is murdered, you should be more sensitized. Exactly. Not desensitized. You should be more sensitized. You shouldn't say, ho hum, same old, same old. No. You should say, what a tragedy. And I can feel the pain of the family.
But what is so scared of? When someone gets kidnapped, then everyone's phone goes like. Everyone's phone.
You have to raise your hand.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, let's go forward. We are interrupting Tanvi. Go ahead, Tanvi.
And when one acts in such Krishna consciousness, certainly he does not claim proprietorship over anything. This consciousness is called nirmana, or nothing is mine. And if there is any reluctance to execute such a stern order, which is without consideration of so-called kinsmen in the bodily relationship, that reluctance should be thrown off. In this way, one may become vigatājvara, or without feverish mentality or lethargy. Everyone, according to his quality and position, has a particular type of work to discharge, and all such duties may be discharged in Krishna consciousness, as described above. That will lead one to the path of liberation.
So I'll give you an example. It's a real-life example. I had an uncle who was very disciplined and wealthy. And near when he was like in his late 70s or early 80s, he decided to give a large donation to our church. They were building a new church, so he was a very shrewd guy. So he went in and started talking with the church managers, and there was a lot of, internal politics in this church, and everyone was positioning themselves for prestige. So he comes in, he's like an outsider, right? He was not regularly going to this church, but he goes in and said, I want to make a big donation, but I want my name on the donation. And he knew that they were building their community hall in the church, just like here, we have the temple here, but downstairs we have like a community hall, the prasadam room, right? So they were arguing. I mean, there were a lot of rich people, and they were all arguing to get their name on the community hall. So he comes in like an outsider, and because they were all arguing with each other, they decided, let him do it, because that way we don't know who he is that much, and if one of us does it, we'll be fighting for the rest of our lives. So he was my uncle was very shrewd. He gave a big donation, and they put his, don't open your mouth without putting your hand over it, please. Okay. Or you have to wear a burqa. You know what a burqa is? Yeah. So then you can yawn. We won't see your mouth because it's permanently covered by your clothes. So my uncle is very shrewd. He got his name, and that name is still there today. But when his wife and his daughter found out, they threatened to commit suicide if he did it. And he said, how do you want to commit suicide? We'll jump off the Brooklyn Bridge. He said, okay, when do you want to do it? So as soon as you make that donation. So I already made it, so how quickly can I drive you there? He was a very shrewd man, very shrewd.
Why do they want to do this?
Because they didn't want him to give that money, because, he was destined to die soon, right? And it was a huge amount of money, and they didn't want him to. But the fact that he did that, even today, if you go to that church, his name is on that.
Wait,
He what? Of course not. No, they were just bluffing. They're not going to commit suicide. And he didn't like spend all his money on that donation. There was still plenty of money. Yeah. Yes. Shrewd means very, very cunning, very, very able to outsmart other people by making he made certain statements that were so believable and attractive that they couldn't say no. And he came exactly at the right time when they were all arguing. See here, it's saying you cannot. That's what
No, I wanna do fruits, roots, and
I'm not this, huh? Yashomati Nandana Brajabaranagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Kaliya Damana Vidana Amala Harinam Amiya Vilasa Amala Harinam Amiya Vilasa Vipina Purandhara Navina Nagara Bhara Vamsi Badana Suvasa Bhajajana Palana Surakura Nashana Bhajajana Palana Surakura Nashana Nanda Godamara Koala Nanda Godamara Koala Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Sundara Nanda Gopala Jamuna Tata Chara Gopi Basana Hara Jamuna Tata Chara Gopi Basana Hara Rasa Rashika Kripa Moya Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natavana Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natavana Bhakti Vinoda Shaya Yashomati Nandana Brajabarana Gara Gokula Ranjana Kana Brajabarana Gara Gokula Ranjana Kana Yashomati Nandana Brajabarana Gara Gokula Ranjana Kana Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Radhe. Jaya Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Radhe. Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Sita Ram Jaya Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Sita Ram Jaya Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Shri Radha Madhava ki.
Why did you do fast beat?
महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परम परिवार का अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती महाराज प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की नामाचार्य श्री हरदास ठाकुर प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा माधव की वृंदावन धाम की मायापुर धाम की जगन्नाथपुरी धाम गंगा माई यमुना माई तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन सामवेद भक्त वृंद की all glories to assembled all glories to assembled all glories to assembled all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ki.
Blessings. Gotta get the blessings.